Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Kerry Magro, a professional speaker and best-selling author. I'm so excited to be here for this breakout session. For those who were at our keynote earlier today, you know a little bit about my story already. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 4, overcame a lot of my obstacles to today being one of the only openly autistic professionally certified public speakers in the country. And I'm here to talk to you today about a topic that's really near and dear to my heart when it comes to the topic of bullying. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint slides with you now. Wonderful. So one of the biggest things that you should know about this topic is that the majority of individuals who are bullied, typically, especially in the disability community, typically are people who are autistic. So during this presentation, I'm going to give you some resources from some of the leading experts in the field who discuss this topic, in addition to 7 steps you can take a stand against bullying today. But for those who weren't at my keynote this morning, I just wanted to share a quick video with all of you so you could get a little glimpse into my journey and why this is important to me. I hope you enjoy.
Bad for a guy who was completely nonverbal for the first few years of his life. But once Kerry Magro found his voice, he had a lot to say.
My parents have always told me I'm special, so why am I special? And then later on, I realized that I'm even more special because I have autism.
Kerry Magro's childhood was marked with rough patches. He was completely nonverbal at age 2 and diagnosed with autism at age 4.
I just remember having difficulties trying to explain myself to the world around me.
When Kerry did speak, he struggled to express himself.
Most of my memories were simply just about that kid who wanted to communicate with the world around him, but didn't have the verbal means of actually doing that.
His mother, Suzanne, remembers watching her son have a hard time adjusting to the outside world.
He turned 2 and he was scared of everything. He was scared of the water, he was scared of the rain.
But as the years went on, Kerry slowly began to find his words.
When you can't communicate with the people you love the most in this world about even some of your basic needs, it gets really, really tough. So, but luckily, once I started talking, I never stopped talking.
Kerry went on to graduate high school, attend Seton Hall University, and then independent living. Today, Kerry is a professional speaker, activist, and mentor dedicated to educating people about autism. Wow. This is a tough one today. Kerry is currently finishing up his doctorate in education while also writing a children's book about autism acceptance in addition to his public speaking. Good for him.
So that's just a little glimpse into my journey. So for the past 10 years, I have had the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with the National Speakers Association as one of the only openly autistic professionally certified speakers in the country. It's given me the opportunity to travel the globe and to talk to many people within our community about disability acceptance, autism awareness, and inclusion as well. In addition to that, during that time, I took my 2 key interests growing up. One was being the 6th member of the Backstreet Boys, and the other one was becoming the next Larry Bird, to actually become an autism entertainment consultant, to bring a realistic portrayal of autism to our entertainment industry, getting to work on films such as Joyful Noise, Jane Wants a Boyfriend, and also in 2019, getting to work on the TV series HBO's Mrs. Fletcher, based on a nonverbal autistic character in that show. In addition to that, I've written several books based on my journey, and in addition, have a 501c3 nonprofit organization where I provide scholarships for autistic students to go to college, while also providing peer mentoring services for many individuals with a wide range of disabilities, where bullying typically is one of the topics that comes up during these conversations. So I'm an avid note taker. So one of the things I will mention to everyone who's joining us today is that if you scan the QR code that you'll see on the top of your screen, it will be able to give you access to all the PowerPoint slides from today's presentation. So definitely take advantage of that. In addition to that, one of the things that I constantly talk about in many of my talks is just the challenges that I had not being able to communicate with my loved ones growing up. I didn't say my first word until I was about 2.5 and didn't start speaking complete sentences till I was 7. So I dealt with a lot of challenges, not only communication based, but also sensory based. I also had auditory processing disorder in addition to some fine motor challenges. I was also diagnosed with dysgraphia, which is part of my dual diagnosis. In addition to that, emotional issues, some because of bullying and also some due to the lack of communication, led to my parents trying to get me another diagnosis when I was a little bit older, knowing that I was having some emotional and challenging behaviors. So before we start off today's presentation, I like to share this quick video, which talks about the fact that when we really think about bullying, bullying at its core is a power imbalance. Simply put, somebody wants to have power over you. And when we define bullying that way, because there's so many different definitions that we have of bullying in our community, when we just know that, bullying becomes so much more concrete to understand. So I have had the opportunity to get to see many of this man's presentations. His name is Brooke Gibbs, and he does a unique exercise with the kids he meets to talk about the topic of stopping bullying that I wanted to share with all of you.
Call me an idiot.
You're an idiot.
What'd you say?
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
You're ugly.
That hurts my feelings.
Yeah, like I care.
I'm gonna get you in trouble.
Sure, short stuff.
I'm taller than you. Shut up. You call me an idiot one more time and I will windmill kick your face.
Like I care. Like you could do anything in those clothes.
These clothes are freaking awesome, okay?
Sure, plaid and sweater vest.
Oh, you have eyes. You can see. Stop being mean.
I hate your face.
Stop being mean.
I hate blonde people.
All right, give her a big hand clap. She did great. All right, now hold on. Good job. All right. I tried to stop you. I couldn't. You did a great job. We're going to play one last time. Same rules. You can call me an idiot. I'm going to try to stop you. Don't let me stop you, okay? You keep being mean to me. You think I can stop her? No. All right, I'll try. Here we go. On the count of 3, everyone say action. 1, 2, 3. Go and call me an idiot.
You're an idiot.
Oh, you think I'm an idiot?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I do stupid things. That's true.
Yeah, you do. You always do stupid things.
I know. You're so smart. You're so lucky.
Yes, I am.
You're awesome.
Thank you. And you're not.
I know. We established that. Cool. Look, my happiness is not based on whether you think I'm cool or not. I'm going to be happy even if you hate my guts.
Okay.
And I'll always be nice to you, sweetheart.
Okay. No.
Isn't she lovely?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I won. Give me a big hand clap. That was awesome.
Sociologists have been studying bullying for decades. They just don't call it bullying. They've always called it dominance behavior, that it's other people trying to overpower others. And it's just like the animal kingdom, you know, the alpha male mentality. That's what's happening on campus. And so when we understand it in terms of dominance behavior, people trying to have power over another, that helps us understand what to do about bullying when we really understand what it is.
All the bullying experts agree on one thing, that bullying is an imbalance of power, that someone's trying to have power over you. They want to see you lose and they want to win. You see, the experts say it's an imbalance of power. Let me put it this way. Let's say a bully says they hate your guts. I hate your guts. If you respond out of anger, shut up! The bully loves that. Never. I hate you. Don't care. You're hurting my feelings. That's the point, stupid. You see, the more upset you get, the more angry you get, the more fun they have. But what would happen if we were resilient? Everybody say resilient. What if we were emotionally strong? Everybody say strong. What if we were mentally tough? Everybody say tough. Then no matter what the hater says, you wouldn't care. I hate your guts. That's nice. You smell like body odor. You're nasty. Thanks for the information. Your face is ugly. You have a face of an angel, sweet cheeks. Okay, maybe that was too far. But how awesome would it be if you, the victim of relentless teasing and taunting or bullying, decided to not get upset, to have tough skin, to allow the hateful, mean words of others bounce right off you and not care what the other person said? If you explain to students that bullying is nothing more than a game about winning and losing, and that the way that they can win is by not getting upset, and the bully will lose. And when people lose, they don't like playing the game, so they'll leave you alone. When you explain that to a student, it's simple, it's concrete. It's not abstract, it's not ethereal, it's not complex, it's simple. Don't get upset no matter what they say. I'm not saying it's easy, but in logic, it's very simple. Now, it's important to know this. When I say bullying, I'm only talking about when someone's hurting your feelings. If you can understand bullying in terms of someone hurting your feelings, then the solution is very simple. But some people think bullying is more complex than hurting your feelings. They think bullying is like violence. Let me make it very clear. When I say bullying, I'm not talking about when someone punches your face. I actually believe that, you should get upset if someone punches your face. That's not bullying. That's called assault and battery. Okay.
So I absolutely love this video because truly at its core, we see a lot of people who get bullied within our autism community. And this is one way of helping those with less support needs be able to be actively able to stand up to bullying in certain situations. But we also have to remember there is a large community of us who also have communication challenges and might not be able to do an exercise like this to actually help themselves. So it's really important that we continue to provide people and allies within our community who can support us when we are part of these bullying situations. So I've been given the wonderful opportunity to work with some amazing brands during my journey, and also being able to work with many school systems in addition to the workplaces on things such as workplace bullying. So one of the things that I continue to see help when it comes to these conversations of bullying in our schools specifically is strong peer mentoring programs. Now, I truly believe that when we talk about peer mentoring, it helps from not only the standpoint of avoiding isolation for many of us in our schools, not only helps from the depression and anxiety perspective as well for those who also have those challenging diagnoses as well, but we also need to help our students understand the paths that they're going through. So I was giving a keynote in Las Vegas a few years back, and I asked about over 300 professional educators, how many of you have a peer mentoring program in your school? And only about, I would say about 4 or 5 actually raised their hand, and I was completely shocked. If you're interested in learning more about how you can start a peer mentoring program at your school, I would definitely recommend going to the National Mentoring Resource Center.org. They have some amazing resources on how you can actually go about starting a peer mentoring program at your school. And it doesn't only make sense for autistic students, but it just makes sense for everyone. We need them to have a fellowship supports within the schools. And it's not only vital for those with special needs, but also the faculty members as well. We all need someone to give us perspective and be able to help us understand what the future may have in store for us. Some of the other things that, you can do when it comes to this topic of bullying is really trying to be able to help students understand that even though somebody might have a disability, they also many of the times have amazing abilities as well. I learned about my diagnosis when we were playing Disability Celebrity Bingo, where we were learning that Michael Jordan has ADD, Magic Johnson has ADHD, Leonardo DiCaprio has dyslexia. And at the end of the class, the teacher said to us, all of us, all these individuals are special, just like you. So I was curious and I asked, why am I special? And that's the first time that my teacher said I need to talk to my parents about it. And I asked my parents and they told me I had autism. And it was life-changing. But from the perspective of bullying as well, when we help normalize some of these disabilities and remind of just the people that many of these kids look up to might have a disability, it helps with the whole perspective of disability within our community, especially those who don't necessarily have a personal connection to the disability community. In addition to that, the majority of the time, bullying stops completely when a peer intervenes and says what you're doing is not okay. The Department of Education has actually indicated that a bullying situation is twice as likely to stop when a peer intervenes versus a faculty member. So those 7 words can really be vital to helping that situation. So today's overview of today's workshop. So we're going to first give you a little definition of what bullying is. Then we're going to currently talk about the current state of our autism community when it comes to this topic of bullying. My own personal experiences, how I used to be bullied for having autism and how it stopped. And then also 7 steps you can take to take a stand against bullying, regardless if you're a self-advocate, regardless if you're an educator, or you are a caregiver. So, and again, at the end, there will be a little QR code where if you would like the PowerPoint slide notes from today's presentation, just be on the lookout for that, just so you don't miss any of the resources. So today, statistics have indicated that a child is bullied every 7 minutes within the school systems. Bullying affects those with autism more than the entire disability community. Those who have a disability are twice as likely to be bullied compared to their non-disabled peers, but those with autism are 2/3 as likely compared to their non-disabled peers. And a lot of that is simply because of the social and communication dynamic, which ends up leading to a lot of reoccurring bullying. So a bullying situation that's happening more than once. In our community today, autism is one of the highest, fastest growing developmental disabilities within our country. When I was diagnosed, it was 1 in every 1,000, and today it's 1 in 54. We have so much more awareness. That's one of the main reasons I believe we're seeing the prevalence increase. Less individuals are falling through the cracks because we're learning more about the signs of autism thanks to our social media platforms and all the digital technology as well. Over 70 million people worldwide have autism. The DSM-5 now indicates autism as autism spectrum disorder. Many people, when I was growing up, classified me as the DSM-4 Asperger's syndrome diagnosis, even though I was specifically diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder and not otherwise specified. And especially when we talk about autism, we need to have larger conversations about the importance of the deficit model, where it sometimes feels like we emphasize 99.9% of the time on what our kids can't do. But what are we doing to nurture their strengths? What are we doing to, like Temple Grandin says, turn interests and talents into careers? I don't think Common Core is necessarily the answer, especially for our disability community. So there is a very, very large difference between bullying versus cyberbullying. Obviously, bullying is face-to-face, while cyberbullying can be from a wide range of technology platforms. Now, one of the things that we have seen on the rise due to COVID-19 and remote learning has been a rise in cyberbullying. So we need to not only have open and honest conversations with our loved ones if they do feel like they're being part of a bullying situation, but also how to go about reporting it as well, which we'll talk a little bit later in today's presentation. And other than cyberbullying, it could also happen 24/7, especially when somebody's at home. The school crime supplement, which was done by stopbullying.gov, says that 9% of students in K through 12 grade are cyberbullied today. And one of the things that why having an honest and open conversation with our loved ones, it's also about understanding the sites that they're going to and making sure that there are parameters in place, especially sites that have a strong bullying standard on their website. Facebook, for example, has a continuing guideline of rules and regulations for comments that go in on Facebook, especially ones that can be considered harassment or bullying of others. So what is considered bullying? Obviously, there are so many experts that have a wide range of thinking of what bullying looks like. That's why I love Brooke Gibbs' video, which kind of just discusses bullying as a power imbalance. But some indications of bullying can be considered unwelcome conduct, graphic or written statements, threats, physical assault, and any other conduct that may be physically threatening, humiliating, or harmful to that individual. So what causes bullying? So obviously there's many different factors that play a role into it, the family dynamic, but one of the biggest ones we see is just the whole ignorance dynamic. We truly say that ignorance is just a lack of awareness. So when we talk about things such as early intervention being the key for those with disabilities, I think the importance of understanding early intervention, discussing things like bullying and the harmful effects bullying can have can really help these individuals as they grow up to be more tolerant and be more accepting of those with disabilities. That is why during months like April, which for so long in our community was called National Autism Awareness Month, groups such as Autism Society of America have wanted us to change the conversation to make it, called Autism Acceptance Month, to turn the pivot because so many people are aware of autism within our communities. How do we go about changing that conversation towards acceptance, understanding, and appreciation of our community? So there's not enough education of the harmful effects of bullying in our schools. In one of the previous slides, you would have seen that October is also National Bullying Prevention Month, where we travel around the country to give not only student assemblies to talk about the topic, but also to professional development for educators as well. So one of the other things we need to have more conversations when we talk about bullying is that some individuals, due to the fact that they have been victims of bullying in the past, actually go about masking different parts of their autistic characteristics simply to try to fit in and to become part of the crowd and to be that typical quote unquote normal. So it's important that when we see individuals being bullied, that we are cognizant of any characteristics that an individual might try to mask because they're being bullied, because it can have harmful benefits such as burnout. And one individual I got to highlight via my video series called A Special Community, where every single place we go to speak, we bring a tripod and a camera, and we sit down with self-advocates to highlight their stories. There is a young boy named Heath who had a very unique perspective of growing up with autism. He wanted a platform to share with the world.
Oh my God, you know a cool trick? What's the cool trick?
So you do this, and I do this.
It's a dog.
So, dog, what is something you would like for people to know about autism?
I'd like them to know that if somebody has autism, that you should really help them a little and give them probably a second chance if they maybe do a little mistake and be a little nicer to them.
He took a while to talk as well. He was diagnosed at 3 officially, but he'd been in early intervention since he was 6 months. So, you know, we've always been impressed with his empathy. I would say I've always felt like he's always been a feeler and a smiler for being such a STEM kid.
If you could describe yourself in one word, how do you think you would describe yourself?
I would probably describe myself as special.
So you like Bill Nye the Science Guy? Is science your favorite class in school? Awesome. Would that be something you may want to do one day?
Yeah.
Science or technology, right? We talk about Silicon Valley from time to time.
What's your favorite thing about your mom? If you can only pick one thing. She seems pretty awesome, though.
What I most like about my mom is that she's the nicest mom I've ever known.
That's great. That's pretty great.
How many your moms do?
You meet lots of small people, so I'll take that. But I have noticed, you know, for him and other families that I talk to, the idea of having to mask, you know, masking is a challenge. So I think probably whether it's subconscious or not, there's masking that can happen during the school day. So I would say that the hardest challenge for him has been his transition from having to mask his autism to do the things he has to do during the day that's required of him that he knows he can do. And then he comes home and he starts experiencing burnout. And I know that probably is just going to increase. And that's definitely something that has been probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
For him.
Because you just want to be the rock star that you are.
Right.
And not have to mask anything, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else you would like for people out there to know about your amazing, incredible story?
I want them to know that I do have autism and that I want to make the world a better place.
Awesome, man. I think you're doing a good job by introducing yourself to the world to hear a little bit more about your story, because you're probably going to break down some barriers for some people watching this and getting to learn a little bit more about our autism community. So, can I get a low five?
Yeah.
Can I get a high five? Can I get a dog? I saw the dog. I mean, you gotta know the dog again.
Here.
Can I see the dog?
Baby dogs.
Like baby sharks, but like baby dogs. You're a rock star, man. I'm so glad I got to meet you. First on-camera interview, too. First on-camera interview, everyone.
So one of the reasons why he did the baby dogs and the dogs in that video is because he stims. And I think one of the things that, and the reason why I like sharing this video, especially when we talk to students about bullying, is that we need to normalize many different autism characteristics, I believe. That would help in a lot of ways, because one of the typical things I see, especially with autistic students, is stimming. And he is very prone to stimming. That's why he does the baby dogs and everything, because he's trying to self-regulate for himself. And I think overall, especially when we're talking about masking, that is one of the typical characteristics that I see a lot of people in our community try to mask. And honestly, if we could just get a little bit more education and have individuals less bullied for stimming, I think it would do a lot of good for individuals like Heath. Again, stimming not being self-injurious. If there's a self-injurious stem, then obviously you have to have larger conversations.
Oh my God, you know, cool.
So, but we also have to normalize the fact that bullying isn't only in school-age children. I met a wonderful autistic advocate named Heather, who actually was not only bullied by students, but was also bullied by grown-ups as well. And it's important that we make sure that we make the world understand that bullying doesn't end at 21. I hope you enjoy hearing a little bit more about Heather's story.
What would you like for?
You know what? We missed Heather's story. You know what? Actually, I'll go back to Kristen's story. However, this is Heather's story that she wanted a platform for the world to hear.
I was told all kinds of things. I was told that I was not trying hard enough. I was told that I was lazy. I was told that I was stupid. I was told that I was slow. And I know now that none of that was true. I just recently graduated college with all honors and magna cum laude.
Can you tell me a little bit about the shirt you're wearing? Because it's really cool.
Yes, it says autistic. Ask a question, get an honest answer, a very honest answer, because I just speak what I feel, and that's that. I ride horses competitively. I have a horse right now. She's on full leash. Her name is Silverbell. And I do theater, I do acting, singing, and dancing, and I love to play sports too. I'm active in Special Olympics. A lot of my challenges were because I was not diagnosed and we did not know what was wrong, and I was bullied a lot, and I continue to be bullied sometimes.
How does that make you feel when bullies actually go about doing that? Because I used to be bullied too.
It's really difficult because for me, in my case, my bully had been an authority figure. So, if a person is a leader, it leads other people beneath them to continue bullying. So it is very complicated. And it's really upsetting. Like,
Understandable.
I just wish people understood. Like, people don't understand that. Like, they give, because like with autism, when you can't always say, you can't always describe your intentions or like emotions that well, people tend to label them for you when it's not accurate.
Is there anything else that you would like for people at home to know about you and your story?
If you've a person with autism in your class or your workplace, please take them under your wing and befriend them, because that's what they need most, is a friend, like a real friend, a best friend. And I was lucky enough to find that, and I have some of the best friends in the world that anybody could ask for, but for a long time I didn't have that, and it's really, really hard. And if you know somebody with autism, I'd really, really, really encourage you to take them under your wing, befriend them. They like some of the same activities that you might like. A lot of them can talk to you and hold conversations just like me and you.
Yeah, exactly.
So be their friend and open up and encourage them. Invite them to your parties and make them a part of your social group.
Yeah. I absolutely love Heather for many reasons. Obviously, she's awesome. She wears great t-shirts like that one in the video. But I also just loved her perspective on how authority figures sometimes can be the bullies. Now, granted, I mean, there's some amazing, amazing authority figures or amazing educators. There's amazing people out there in the world. But we also have to be cognizant that teacher bullying is something that sometimes happens within our school systems. And that starts a larger conversation about this topic of bullying. That's not only student-based bullying, but bullying can happen anywhere by any person. So the importance of friendship is really important. Another thing that I love what Heather was talking about is befriending people who have autism. Growing up, I didn't know the difference between negative attention and positive attention. So I would befriend bullies a lot of the time. And one of the things that helped me to stop bullying situations from happening a lot of the time was understanding the difference between what a bully was versus what a friend was. That's what strong social skills classes gave me when I was in school. And I think it's something that as we continue to have more conversations about social skills in our schools, why they should be a mandatory class. Because it's not only the education for those with disabilities, such as autism, but it's just education for everyone. So in addition to that, a lot of the times when I'm speaking to educators, one of the things that I typically get is that, oh, kids need to have a stronger backbone, and the typical kids will be kids. And it's kind of just the evolution, and it's just something that everyone has to deal with at some point in their lives. But we understand today that words do have power. So Kristen, who is also autistic, has a very unique challenge of being bullied. And it's something that we need to address more in our schools. When I go to give a presentation in the schools and they don't necessarily see the need to discuss bullying, this is really one of the important reasons why we need to have it addressed even more than we already are.
What would you like for people at home to know about you?
I've been through a lot, and if you just give me a chance, I'm very bright, talented, pretty cool person. I'm a painter. I'm a writer, and I've written a couple books, and I like to do some acting. I'm very multi-talented. I also like to make music. Actually, I could say my greatest accomplishment was pushing through. I have because of the bullying, I have a lot of depression that I've actually, can I say, I tried to commit suicide many times, and something in my mind, I don't know, just tells me that it's gonna get better, and then I'm gonna be something one day, and
You are going to be something one day. You're something right now.
I don't feel that way.
But you do amazing art. You've kind of like flourished. I mean, you got the punk rock things going on. So I mean, you do have things going on in your life. And I was a victim of bullying too. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
It's quite often, I've tried to wrap my brains around it, and it's just, I think one of the biggest things is that I'm just alone all the time. I don't have a group of friends, and I get attacked in public by people. I'm a very easy target, and this happened my whole life, and it happens so often. I'm almost afraid to leave my house.
I just want you to know, it's like there are people out there in our community who want to be your friend. From people such as myself who friends with countless of other kids and just friends with people. There are people out there in our community who want to be your friend. And I hope you never forget that. I know it sucks. Bullying sucks. Bullying's terrible. No one should ever bully anyone, but
Well, one of the problems I have is trust. It used to be I didn't understand jealousy until my early 20s. I didn't have that comprehension of understanding that emotion at all. Like I said, it was very black and white. You're either smiling and you're happy, or you're you're frowning and you're mad at me. And I didn't understand it. Sometimes people can be conniving and be smiling at you.
Yep.
They have malicious intentions, but they'll be smiling at you. And I've got taken advantage of and massively abused because I didn't understand it. And I kind of almost fear the world now because of it, and it's taken a toll on me.
Is there any like final thought that you would like to leave for people at home about your story?
Really take the time out of your lives to appreciate what you have every day. Find some inner peace in your mind to truly love and accept yourself in a world that has a lack of love and acceptance. And try to find, I know it can be hard, in a world that it wants to segregate everybody, but it's hard to find the right group of people. But I definitely say hanging around loving, positive individuals would be a good thing.
And acceptance is key.
Yeah, acceptance is key. That's actually one of my philosophies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, unfortunately, today, bullying between those who are the ages of 10 to 34 is the second leading cause of death, suicide. And I sometimes hear from educators that it's such a sensitive topic that I don't know how to address it, especially in the school systems. So one of the middle schools we went to where we shared Kristen's video, it was so powerful because one of the kids came up to me afterwards and he said, Dr. Kerry, Mr. Kerry, I never knew people could feel the way that Kristen felt. And I used to be a bully. But I just wanted you to know I'm never going to bully anyone again because I know the negative impacts it can have on people like Kristen. And honestly, if I never received another speaking engagement for the rest of my life, just having that lasting impact was truly, truly special for me. That Kristen being brave to share her story could potentially help somebody not bully somebody else into a situation where they would even consider something like suicide. So I think it's also important that we're having these conversations about anxiety and mental health as well. So my personal experiences with bullying, I was diagnosed and when I was during pre-K, I got kicked out of 2 therapeutic preschools because they said they didn't know how to control my quote unquote autistic behaviors. So I had limited speech, which made it also have the inability to speak out to teachers when I was being part of those bullying situations. Throughout my entire academic process, I was one of the only kids with autism within my classrooms too. So there was a huge impact of simply that ignorance and not enough education about individuals such as myself and some of the characteristics we go through. While I was dealing with communication challenges, though, I always knew that I was having those challenges. Bullying continued in the public school. I was in a multi-handicapped classroom for kids the ages of 6 to 14. Special education has definitely come a long way compared to when I was in school in the early 90s. I was mainstreamed in 4th grade, and people would call not only my class the retarded class, but they would also call me Captain Retarded because I was one of the only kids in a mainstream classroom who had a disability. So after 4th grade, bullying had reached the peak level where my GPA went from 3.9 to 3.4 to the harmful effects that bullying was have. I was also overweight, so I was called mean names for a long time when I was in public school. So it was really at that time, that peak time, when I felt truly that no one understood me. I wanted friends, but I was so shy. So making lasting connections was difficult, and limited funding and teacher support made bullying only one of my challenges at the time. But my breakthrough was when my parents sued for an out-of-district school placement for a school for individuals with learning disabilities. My parents, it was very tough paying out of pocket for over 2 years while going through this process. But once I started middle school, I finally was in a program I felt comfortable with. But one of the other big reasons why bullying had stopped, not only being able to understand more about what a bully was versus what friendship was, and being able to kind of think in the Brooks Gibbs perspective of why bullies do what they do, but it was also because of the lower student-teacher ratio. I went from public school, which was about 25-1 on average, to 8-1 when I was going to private school. And a lot of bullying situations were more easily addressed because there were less students in the classrooms, and more of the bullying situations were visible to educators. And because of that, I was able to really build the confidence towards making some of my first real friendships. And in addition to that, one of the biggest things was every single individual just knew, even though there was some bullying, every single individual knew that they just had something that made them part of who they were. They had their specific disability, and bullying situations changed quite rapidly after that for me. And I was able to progress while at the same time finding out more about my autism diagnosis, sitting in on my IEP meetings to learn more about how to best self-advocate for myself, while also learning more about my strengths and challenges that accompanied my autism diagnosis. And then we had a joint program. So it was middle school transitioning to a high school with, again, only 160 students. And I was able to become more of an advocate for the autism and disability community at that time, maintaining a 3.9 GPA and getting into all 15 colleges that I applied to at the time. In college, I was rarely ever bullied again. Most people who came up to me didn't even know I was on the autism spectrum. The typical thing I receive today is that, Kerry, you have autism, but you don't look like you have autism. I today am considered to have an invisible disability. And when I was in college, though, I did notice some of my peers who did have disabilities, more visible disabilities, being bullied by other college students. And that actually made me, was a part of the reason why I came out about my autism diagnosis, because I wanted to be a self-advocate in the hopes of actually stopping some bullying situations from happening to other individuals like myself. And that led down the line for not only after receiving my undergraduate at Seton Hall University with a major in sport management, changing career paths so I could lead to a world where I've had the opportunity to be a speaker, author, film consultant, autism advocate, and also anti-bullying activist today. We're gonna skip this video just in the spirit of time, but I wanted to share with all of you 7 steps to take a stand against bullying. And again, these are for any self-advocate, any educator. Hopefully these will be able to help you have a larger conversation about bullying within your school systems and also in your local community. So the first part is to start the conversation. Because individuals with autism may not realize that they're being bullied or may be unable to communicate what's happening at the school or in the community, the first step is to get the conversation started so they understand what bullying is and why it's not okay. This goes back to my own childhood where I would befriend bullies because I didn't have that understanding. Teach your child or student to know the difference between appropriate and inappropriate treatment from classmates. This will also help later down the line if you consider role playing with your students on what a bully is and what a friend is, and playing out different scenarios like going up to somebody in the lunchroom to ask if they want to have lunch with them, and how that can promote friendship down the line versus a bullying situation where somebody might call you a name and that you could explain that a bully might do this in this situation. Make sure your child feels comfortable telling you when or he or she feels bullying may be happening, and encourage him or her to talk to you about his or her feelings at school. And most importantly, be supportive, be an open ear, and always keep that ongoing conversation going on, especially for those who have nonverbal autism and communicate via things such as augmented communication, but also understand that nonverbal bullying is a actual thing in our community, and it harms several individuals who are nonverbal today. If you want to learn a little bit more about the resources currently available that discuss this topic, I would definitely recommend going to thebullyproject.com. They actually have a wide range of special need bullying related resources. One of them about how you can talk to your child about bullying and having that initial introductory conversation. The second thing is develop a plan. So a child's IEP is a great resource you can use to combat bullying. You can work with your team to map out precautions to put in place to prevent bullying, as well as procedures to stop it if it does happen. Now, a lot of educators don't, a lot of parents don't really know about this. That's why I often recommend that parents new to the autism community definitely consider looking at Bright's Law and considering hiring a special needs advocate to help them, especially when it comes to situations where their child may be bullied or have other challenges that sometimes the schools might not be addressing. So one of the sites that I absolutely love, especially when it comes to bullying related resources, is Pacer's National Bullying Prevention Center. They are one of the few national bullying centers in the United States. And they actually have tips on how you can actually talk and have the initial conversation about having the IEP plan as part of in reference to bullying situations. Number three, I absolutely love this one. It's teaching tolerance. It's of utmost importance for educators and administrators to teach tolerance in schools. The environment at schools sets the tone for how potential bullies behave and how safe students who may be bullied feel. Develop lesson plans to teach students about the importance of tolerance and the effects bullying can have on individuals. Ellen DeGeneres did a segment on her show where she was talking about celebrating differences and how it would be great to have lessons in compassion in school based on a situation that happened with a freshman at Rutgers University, Tyler Clemente, who was bullied and bullied so severely that he actually committed suicide. The family started a foundation, but he was bullied. One of the biggest reasons he was bullied was because he was gay. And one of his roommates or somebody at school, I believe, actually outed him because he was video casting with his boyfriend at the time, and somebody recorded it and posted it online, and it led to Tyler taking his own life. So we need to, and then Ellen had that segment where she talked about lessons in compassion. These could be really just great tools overall, because it's really important from an overall diversity and inclusion standpoint that we're having as many educational opportunities for these students to understand diversity in the schools today. And 1 in 5 Americans currently have a disability, making up the largest minority in the United States. So diversity is a really important topic. You can definitely bring in speakers such as myself, who gives talks regularly during National Bullying Prevention Month, or other speakers like Brooke Gibbs to start the conversation. Learn how to teach tolerance at school. There's a great actual link on thebullyproject.com where you can learn more. Also, this is very hit and miss. It really depends on your school, but you could also consider setting up a zero tolerance policy. Although a lot of the times when zero tolerance policies, it can be hit and miss because some of the bullying situations can be misconstrued. And it really, really depends on your district and how significant bullying is overall. Increase awareness and acceptance is the next one. One good way to increase awareness and acceptance at school and the community is by educating the students' staff members. Though some parents may not feel comfortable in doing so, others have found that teaching classmates about their child's disability has helped prevent bullying, as well as made their child feel more accepted by his or her peers. It can help to work with your child's school as well. One of the reasons why I wrote my first children's book was because I realized that there were a lot of children who didn't really have resources on how they could learn more about topics such as autism, especially those who don't have a personal connection. And I wanted to write something in the hopes of educating them for many of the reasons why we're sharing in this slide. So tips on how to talk about disabilities in your school are available at thebullyproject.com as well. Many of them are one-sheet PDFs to start the initial conversation. Number 5, encourage self-advocacy. This is why I think we should also have earlier conversations with our loved ones about their disabilities, so they can learn some very important self-advocacy tools that can be beneficial for them for the rest of their lives. Self-advocacy, I can't tell you enough, especially as somebody who didn't learn about his autism diagnosis till 10 and a half. It was so life-changing, and I wish I had known sooner, especially for somebody like myself who has less support needs. It would have been really pivotal towards building on my self-advocacy. So while parents and educators can put plans and supports in place to prevent bullying, it's also very important to teach students to advocate for themselves to the best of their abilities. Once they learn how to spot bullying when it happens to them, they need to learn how to put a stop to it. It's essential to teach your child or student how to advocate for him or herself, especially when it comes to bullying. Help him or her understand why it's important to stand up for him or herself and communicate in his or her own way in order to stop the bullying and prevent it from happening again. This is also important from the standpoint where it's also important to understand where bullying situations happen most often. The two places that I commonly hear about are hallways and in the lunchroom or recess area, simply because that is where the teachers and educators and the faculty might not necessarily be able to visually see every single situation going on. So bullies feel like they can get away with that most in those common areas where there's a lot of foot traffic. So Pacers Bullying Prevention Center has a great self-advocacy action plan that you can implement to start with a loved one if you're interested in learning more about this topic of self-advocacy. Number 6, learn your rights. As we continue to focus on grassroots advocacy towards disability-related legislation, there's also many states currently today that have laws about bullying, and some specifically about bullying those with special needs, especially when it comes to harassment of those with disabilities. So according to, and this is a government-related website that does a lot when it comes to bullying, stopbullying.gov, which has a lot of pivotal work done via the Department of Education, indicates that state and local lawmakers have taken action to prevent bullying and protect children. So through laws and their state education codes and elsewhere, and model policies that provide guidance to districts and schools, each state, though, addresses bullying differently. So they, on their website, have a index of all 50 states and what their bullying laws look like. So I definitely recommend going to the link below to check that out as well. And then finally, speak up, because we need as many voices within our community to actually be allies towards this community. It's not only the people who have the personal impact, but it's also educating those who don't have the first person perspective, those who don't have the sibling, the loved one who's on the autism spectrum, to really truly make positive change. So whether you're a parent and you know your child is bullying, a teacher who sees that bullying is happening at school, or a student who feels that you're being bullied, the first thing you should do is speak up. Let school administrators know about what is happening and tell them that bullying is a violation of the individual's rights as well as his or her IEP. If the school isn't doing enough to stop the bullying and prevent it from happening again, you can reach out to an advocacy organization for assistance. Typically, as part of rights law and hiring a special needs advocate, they would come in to your IEP meetings, but it's also important when you are having those IEP conversations to consider not going in alone, being able to have a family member who can speak of knowing the child and knowing some of their specific strengths and challenges as well. When you're reporting incidents of bullying, it's also important to have the information in writing. I know this might be very easy and just preaching to the choir now, but if you don't have something documented, I would consider it not happening. It's more important, and obviously many of us know this from IEP meetings and having journals and journals of information to give to the child study team when it comes to reasonable accommodations. The more writing that you have on those situations, the better. And you can learn more about how to write a letter to notify them about bullying at PACER's Bullying Prevention Center as well. So in conclusion, bullying is a lifelong issue for those with developmental disabilities, and it's not only school age, it happens far after these students age out of school at 21 or 22. And through services and awareness efforts, we can truly stop bullying at its core. But it takes a village. It's also making sure that people understand that bullying doesn't end after National Bullying Prevention Month, similar to how autism doesn't stop after Autism Acceptance Month. We see these things happen 365 days a year, 24/7 in some cases. So the more people we have who can get involved with this topic, the better. So finally, I like to end most of my presentations by saying that I never expected bullying to really stop. I expected that bullying would continue for most of my life. And don't get me wrong, I still deal with some bullying situations today. But compared to the kid who was scared and shy of the world and really didn't want to branch out because of being bullied, I can honestly say that autism and bullying haven't defined me, but I've defined autism and bullying. And I can only hope that every single one of you who are watching today can go out there and help your loved ones and your students define their lives and their journeys in the way that they best see it every single day. Because it truly, truly, truly takes a village. It's going to take all of us to get together to support this cause. And if there's any way I can help with that conversation, these are the ways that you can stay in contact with me. I thank you so, so much for joining us for this breakout session on I used to be bullied for having autism. Here's when it stopped. On terms of the PowerPoint slides, you have two ways of doing it. You can either copy this link into your browser, which will just leave you with a short form where if you leave your name and email, we've been more than happy to send you the PowerPoint slide notes from today's presentation. In addition to that, we consider testimonials the greatest compliment. So on that form, if you don't even want the PowerPoint slide notes, but would just prefer to leave a testimonial for our future marketing materials. So in the hopes we can go into even more schools and educate about the topic of bullying and why it's not okay, that would be greatly appreciated as well. I thank you all so much for hearing me today. In addition to that, if you have any specific questions from today's presentation, in the form, if you just leave those questions in the testimonial area, I would be more than happy to answer them. Every single person who fills out the form will receive an email from my personal email, so you can stay in touch as well. Thank you all so much.